Hello, everybody. So I'm working at a large digital transformation within ABB. ABB is a company that basically was part of the invention of industrial automation, which was one of the industrial revolutions that we have seen. But now, of course, we're working on something else. And what is that next thing? And I believe it really has to do with basically taking the information that is in the plant, that you basically get from the automation system, and then you have information that is, for example, in the ERP systems and in other applications, and you bring that together, and then you can mine for bottlenecks and you can detect where you need to optimize the company further. So that is one of the things that we're doing today. We do it on a standard basis, but it is more than that. It's also really about recognizing that this is an operating model. So it's not only about integrating data, integrating OT and IT data, then applying some data mining and analytics, but you have to also develop really the organization. And I think those companies that I'm working with, quite many of them have realized that this is something else. It's not just data analytics, but it's an operating model. And in my role, I'm working worldwide. I'm working across many different industries. So I get to see what's happening in a pharma plant in India. I get to see what happens in a refinery in the Middle East, and I get to see what happens in a paper mill in Finland. And I can see that overall there is something emerging, which I would call a new operating model, and it is somehow driven by a megatrend which is called the functional integration of the enterprise. So, however, when we look at where the industry is right now, I think most companies are precisely here. So on one hand, we can see that everybody is very busy with collecting data and building actually some kind of repository that can be mined, that can be analyzed. Everybody is also hiring data scientists, as we saw in the morning. There is a lot of job searches out there. Definitely the market needs more people than there are available. But on the other hand also, there is an analytics hype going on right now, and many of the digitalization projects that industrial companies have relate in one way or the other to analytics. Companies, especially the bigger players, they tend to be frustrated and then turn to the startups. So basically you engage with a couple of startups and then you work very agile, and yes, you're analyzing something, but we also believe that basically it is for example, the oil companies that need to work together with their suppliers and with startups, and then look at this together instead of the oil company just working with startups and trying to analyze a part of the process. And then still you need to, at the end, turn to the OEM if you want to have a safe extension of your maintenance intervals. So I think this is something that will emerge. And here I can really see the first signs of desperation, that when they are working with data scientists, with analytics, yes, a lot of people, a lot of companies have found interesting things, but so what? What is next? And the other thing is also that many are struggling with getting the data that is locked in the OT layer and get that up. And that is another point that really needs to be solved. And we're working also very actively on OT IT integration. So we're one of the companies that are actually doing this. And then the other point is also that if you're not combining the online world, basically what's in your data, with the offline world, which are the real processes, the real people, it's the machines, etc., then you're struggling to implement the finding, let's say, that you have found in the data. And at the end of the day, you probably have to make a capex investment or opex investment of some sort in order to reap the benefit of what you have realized. So it's very much about bringing it home, and also because companies are frustrated in the way how to generate money from it, the tendency is now that actually the industrial players are telling everybody that, of course, you can come into my company and you can even get a piece of the data and you can analyze it. And if you find something useful, I will pay you, right? And what this actually expresses is that companies really struggle with getting the return of investment. So they are not, some of them are even not willing to put the money up front. And I think this is another trend. Now I have 5 slides here that will actually show you how we think about this as an operating model, that there is more to this, okay? And I have examples for that. So if you look now at the industrial plant and what's happening there, if you look 30 years ago, this is what a control room looked like. Nowadays, it looks like on this picture, but also the control room in those plants that are getting designed now and that will then operate for another 20, 30 years, those control rooms will again look slightly different. What you can see is really that people are gonna see less information, so there will be less overburdening with alarms, etc. in the plant. Not just to tell you a short story. So I've been to a biopharma plant. It's basically fermentation processes that they're running in order to, at the end, get a powder out that then the customer is gonna print into tablets, let's say, that then that you can take with a glass of water and swallow down. So that pharma plant is one of the most modern plants in the world, and they have guaranteed their end customer that they get the product, for example, in June. And in order to be sure to deliver that in June, they have to start 5 batches at the same time in order to be sure that one of those batches is guaranteed ready in June. Because the fermentation process takes 3-4 months, so it takes 3-4 months to produce the product, which means if all of your fermentation processes went wrong, then you don't have a product and the customer needs to wait another 4 months. They need to wait now until October, for example, to get the product. Now, that customer is basically looking at analyzing the information that is coming from our automation system, because we fully automated the plant, basically, and they're analyzing how can we be more reliable in predicting the batches. And if you are able to reduce the amount of batches that you need to start parallel, by going from 5 to 4, you have increased the productivity of that plant by 20%. So we're talking huge numbers here. It's also obvious that this expertise is not really at the plant level. So they need to reach out to analytics companies, to their suppliers, etc. Because a lot of the expertise that you need to optimize is not at the plant. That is my message. If you look what's happening at organizations that are managing many plants, or a fleet, for example, of ships. Also there a big change has been going on. Earlier they were offices with cubicles, and you have your paper and you have your fax machine and you have your photocopier and you have your telephone, etc. But we have, for example, implemented software to entire ship fleets, where you can monitor and forecast what is the best voyage the ship should take. And that is managed from a fleet center that our customer is operating. And then if you imagine, now we have a software that basically has all the algorithms and it tells you exactly what is the best route and can you go through that storm, yes or no, because it has a ship model of that precise ship in the software, then you're able to make recommendations to the captain. And what actually one of our customers did, they basically have their fleet center, so they tell the captains that, look, we can see that you should have already left the port, but you're still there. Why are you still there? And then the captain says that, well, there's a storm coming. I'm not gonna leave now. And then the guy from the control center says, yeah, but our software says that you can leave. You just need to take 12 knots through the storm straight and you're gonna make it. And then the captain says, but wait a second, who are you again? What are you by training? And he says, well, I'm a software engineer. He says, well, I will not do this, okay? Actually, what that company did is they said, okay, so we take a captain, every month another captain to our fleet center, and we let the captain also work with the software and then talk to the captains out there. And every month it became a different captain and they started a rotation. And then it worked. Then the captain started doing what the software said. And I think there you can see also you're combining basically the people and the software, and it's about change management, right? Another thing that's going on, the service department is also changing. companies that are making products like ABB, drives, motors, control systems, etc. And all this is running at our customers. Our service department, when I started in ABB Marine, our service department looked like on this picture. And when I left, it looked like this. And I give you one example. We were confronted with a claim from a customer who has LNG carriers, so liquid natural gas carriers, ships. They are huge. It was a new ship, has operated like half a year, and we are providing the propulsion, the power plant in that case. And they said that, hey, look, we noticed that we are somehow losing power, you know. So there is something wrong, you know. I mean, we can operate, but somehow we should be we should be doing better. So something wrong with the technology that you provided. And because we nowadays have all this intelligence on the ship and we do the monitoring, it was relatively easy for us to just take the data, analyze it, and we said that, no, well, yes, there is something wrong, but it's an outside factor, right? So our data analysts said that this is not because of the power plant, because something in the power plant is happening. Customer said, well, we don't believe that. We think it is your fault. So what do we do now? We said, well, you know what? You're going to send this, well, a car you would send to the garage, right? With a LNG carrier, you send it to the dry dock. You know, so you go hundreds of miles, you go to a dry dock, you take the ship out of service for a certain time. Then you tell the divers to go down and look at the propeller. So they send 2 divers down to the propeller. And by the way, we said that if we're wrong, we will pay. Okay? We sent the divers down to the propeller, and they found out that around the propeller, it was very difficult to see, but there was a fish net got into the propeller, into the shaft. And that was basically causing the vessel to go with less power, right? So, and also in this example, you can see that the puzzle piece that is now available to us is the analytics, right? Earlier, we would have just had to argue with the customer and say that, look, well, we think there is nothing wrong, but who are we to say that without any data? But still also in this case, it requires us to work together with the offline world to send down the divers, right? That is basically how you get to the benefit, to get to the end, to actually make this what you found in the data something valuable for the company, in this case to ABB and to the customer. And something similar is going on at the headquarter. If I look at our customers, and this is really across industries, the headquarter is changing, and I think what's happening is that actually headquarters in the industry are turning into digital transformation hubs. So I'll give you one example. Been to a customer, they said, look, we have around 50 digital initiatives in our company, okay? And we don't really know how to digest it. But we want to have the data from all the plants. We want to have the data from the CRM systems, from the ERP systems, from everywhere. We bring it all together. And we also want to have a really long video wall, data wall, you know, where we can see everything, right? And then we want to be involved in the crisis management. They also wanted to basically have that as a crisis management room. And then we said to them, look, you know, basically what you're talking about is a digital transformation hub. So you will have to rethink about the footprint, the floor in this building, who you're going to have there. You're going to have there a team of data scientists. You're going to have a team from your upstream operations, a team from your logistics operations and maritime operations, basically, and a team from your downstream operations. Then you will also have your program managers sitting there, and they will, instead of managing the programs on PowerPoint slides and asking people to fill out the Excels and send them to them, you know, at the end of the month, they will be able to work with data, right? You will also have some special projects there, for example, on robotics and AI and augmented reality and whatever, right? But you basically need to create this, you need to make this hub. The company said exactly spot on, that's what we're going to do. Then they asked us to make a 3D rendering of that floor, what it's going to look like, also which we did. Then the CEO went with that to his boss or to the board and got approval to build this, right? And then actually the company still, after they had done the first IT integration part, they got stuck because they realized this is not just about IT integration, so it is about the operating model. So it's really about change management. It's like what we heard in the morning. It's the people, the process, the technology, and the data, right? And this is something ABB is doing. I mean, the largest projects we have done is we have created full visibility for customers that own 100 plants. And you can see in the headquarter, 360 view, the entire corporation of what is coming in and what is going out. All your operations, real-time overview, 100 plants. We were doing that right now, projects that integrate 40 cement plants, or that integrate entire steel complex with 36 different automation systems from different makers, ERP systems, whatnot. It's all possible, but this is, I think, something that's needed. So the way how to basically end my presentation is I think I really want to make the point that the companies that are taking this serious enough to realize that this is about a new operating model, how you will operate your company, your enterprise, I think those companies will have a clear benefit in taking the return of investment from the digitalization. And of course, it is about data. I mean, this is one of the missing puzzles. But what I have seen before, already since years, is that industrial companies tend to put their hopes for the problems they have on the next magic tool, for example, the next magic technology. And then yell, well, we have no visibility into our sales pipeline. Well, we will implement a CRM tool and that's going to fix it. No, sorry. It will not give you sales management, which is actually what you were lacking, right? And it's the same thing now with data. So data is a very important piece of the puzzle. It needs to be in place, but it's a zero-sum game. If you have not invested 25%, in my opinion, I'm just throwing out that number, but if you have not invested 25% of your time and money in your digital strategy on thinking about the operating model and developing that and implementing that, then I think you have a sunk investment of data collection, but you will struggle with the return of investment in that area. And our motto in ABB, we launched a digital portfolio now it's under the ABB Ability umbrella. And I think one of the slogans there is connected expertise. And this is really the message of ABB. ABB, like I said, is an automation power company. We also make robots, etc. But we are really stressing the importance of the experts. It's basically the experts that need to be connected, and whether they are in your company or in your plant or in your headquarter, whatever, or at a startup or at an OEM, you need to bring those together, need to make a virtual team and have them look at what's the problem, analyze it, and then figure out how to solve it. And to solve it is, in some cases, really the hardest part. So it's really how have you built a mechanism where you can quickly make the judgment, then you're going to send the ship to the dry dock, you're going to send the divers down, and then you fix the problem, right? It's a whole chain of events. Thank you.